And he told me, like, about a week before I got shot, he knew that it was shot me. He was like, Pop, don't hang around this. He don't, you know, we walked in with that shot that ended up shooting me. He's like, Pop, because I knew it too. He was my coach. And I was like, what you mean? He's like, I'll talk to you about it later. And we didn't talk. Next time I saw him was at the studio where I got shot. So I knew he knew what happened. So I was like, Biggie, what happened? He kept sending me messages like I'm gonna come see you. No, what happened?
Pac was locked up on February 14th, 1995 in the correctional facility in New York. It was during the time that Biggie exploded on the rap scene. Exactly 1 week after Pac got locked up, Biggie and Puffy decided to release a song called Who Shot Ya? February 21st, 1995, 3 months after the Quad Studio shooting. The title itself made everybody raise an eyebrow, but the overall concept and sound of the record made it even worse. Jimmy Henchman and Puffy wanted to put out that record to aggravate the wound and create controversy around the time Tupac was in the news every day, because of not only the shooting but also him going to prison for a crime he didn't commit. He was a trending topic in the news and the main topic in the hip-hop world. So hearing Who Shot Ya with the Tupac shooting in the news, people put 2 and 2 together and came to the conclusion that Biggie is dissing Pac. The timing was just terrible, but it was done purposefully and strategically to increase Biggie's record sales, using the attention Pac gets from the media for Biggie's music. So they were basically making profit off another man's moment of pain, even though that same man opened doors for them and was one of their closest homies. The whole game interpreted the song as a taunt at Pac. There were rumors going around at that time that he didn't actually get shot 5 times, but that he only shot himself, and that he lied to the public to save his reputation. Biggie heard the rumor and got confirmation from Stretch, who was actually there. He said he only heard 1 shot. So the answer to Biggie asking the question who shot ya would have been Tupac. Tupac shot himself. So that of course infuriated Pac even more. People in Biggie's camp knew that it would create controversy. And Puffy was rubbing his hands like the devil, knowing that he can make profit from it. Trolling a man who's been the biggest topic on the news and can't defend himself now that he's in prison. All while remaining close to Jimmy Henchman, the mastermind behind the shooting. Pac wouldn't have been able to lyrically respond for about half a decade even if he wanted to, cause he was sentenced to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. If Suge Knight hadn't bailed him out 8 months later, we might have not gotten a response. When Pac heard the song in prison, he was super upset and thought that they did it on purpose, as a slick way to laugh at him. He was hurt, not only because Big is his homie and it's a sensitive topic, but also because he thought the song is dope. That's what he told people. If Who Shot Ya was a trash song, it wouldn't have bothered him. But the song became the hardest thing in hip-hop. It really pissed him off. Such a great track. But it sounded like it was aimed at him. Normally, he would have been happy for Biggie for dropping such a great track. But this was the first Biggie song he couldn't bump like everyone else.
When he made Who Shot Ya, I wanted to quit because heartbeats sound like Sasquatch feet, thundering, shaking the concrete.
They stopped when I followed the plot. Neighbors called the cops because they heard mass shot. It's like, okay. Yeah. It was beautiful. It was so menacing, the dark chords and then his voice over them. And it was just like the hardest song you've ever heard.
Everyone in prison was playing it. They had it on repeat, telling Pac that Biggie is taunting him. And Pac had to endure it for the next 8 months. He couldn't escape it. I mean, he goes to prison and a week later they drop the song. Prison mates would always ask him if there's beef between them. All while Pac was in a state of confusion, isolated from the rest of the world, with no contact to any of the people involved. He couldn't just call Biggie and talk it out with him, but he would hear all types of rumors while he was locked up. And for the next couple of weeks, he would always hear Biggie say, "Who shot ya?" When family members would come to visit him, he would ask them, why would he release that song? What is he trying to do? Because Pac never heard it before. Biggie used to give him demo tapes of songs that were just about to drop, to show him what he was currently working on. On the surface, this one seemed like a brand new record recorded after the shooting. Especially with Puffy yelling 9-5, short for 1995. Even though the first verse, more specifically the first version of the first verse, was recorded in 94, 3 months before the Quad Studio shooting. This was the first recording of the song Who Shot Ya, with only one Biggie verse. The second one wasn't planned at first. Puffy was yelling 9-5 in the ad-libs of the song. Those vocals were recorded in summer '94. If you listen closely, you can hear that the verse is slightly altered from the final version. It's an entirely different take. He actually called himself Biggie Smalls on this. But in the final version, which was recorded months later, he said B.I.G.
The lyrical molesting is taking place. With Biggie Smalls, it ain't safe. The lyrical molesting is taking place. With B.I.G. it ain't safe.
So two completely different recordings. He had to change it because the artist Biggie Smalls threatened to sue him if he continues to call himself Biggie Smalls. So in summer '94, he officially changed his name to the Notorious B.I.G. This was shortly before his album Ready to Die came out, meaning before September '94. But this meant that they couldn't use the first version of Who Shot Ya. The beat was initially intended for Mary J. Blige's album My Life. Biggie and Keith Murray had a verse on it, but Puffy ended up giving the beat to Biggie. Keith Murray's verse was then later used on Eric Sermon's song Tell 'Em, and then also on the K. Murray interlude on Mary's album. The second take of Biggie's first verse was recorded after the release of Ready to Die, somewhere around the time Tupac got shot, and nobody wants to reveal when exactly the song was re-recorded. Again, only the first take of the first verse was recorded before the Quad Studio shooting. The second take of the first verse and the second verse, which completed the song, were recorded after the shooting. Because according to DJ Clark Kent, Biggie was fed up with Clark overpraising the rapper Jay-Z when they were on tour together in December '94, meaning the month after Tupac got shot. The song wouldn't have been re-recorded and completed if DJ Clark Kent hadn't annoyed Biggie, cause Biggie didn't know what to do with that song. Who Shot Ya became a track for Biggie to show off his rapping skills, a way for Biggie to prove that he's a better rapper than Jay-Z. So while being on tour, Biggie went back to the studio in New York to record the second verse of Who Shot Ya, and also to re-record the first verse to improve his delivery, while also changing a couple of lines like the one where he calls himself Biggie Smalls, and also the one in the outro where he's giving Mary J. Blige a shoutout. 2 days later they went back on tour, and Biggie played DJ Clark Kent the final version of the song Who Shot Ya, to convince him that he's a better rapper than Jay-Z. This whole incident happened when Biggie, Junior Mafia and DJ Clark Kent were touring, which they did in December '94, and Biggie played him the song at the airport. So again, the second verse with the lines against Jay-Z and possibly against Tupac were recorded a couple weeks after the Quad Studio shooting, which happened on November 30th. There's footage of DJ Clark Kent and Biggie performing together in Richmond, Virginia, on December 27th. They were flying from city to city and playing each other music. Clark Kent made Biggie listen to Jay's songs and Biggie made him listen to his own songs. Even if Who Shot Ya wasn't a diss at Tupac, it was strategically released at a very vulnerable moment for him, knowing that the media would hype it up and turn it into a headline. Pac was already getting crucified by the media, and people were calling him names for the assault case, destroying his image and reputation, to the point that the people from Interscope Records didn't really want to have him on their label anymore, even though he became a platinum artist. At this point, Pac was really done with rap, cause the media had destroyed everything he worked for, to the point that people started to view him as this disgusting, filthy animal and psycho, the complete opposite of what he was trying to be. Plus he's in prison, locked up for a couple of years, and now Puff and Big are kicking him while he's already on the ground defeated. And the people who really believe that Pac is an abuser really love the idea that he's getting dissed. Look, we're dissing this disgusting animal that just got locked up for assaulting a woman. They never actually said it, but that's how some people interpreted this song. Biggie didn't even think that Pac would take offense to it, nor did he care about it. Again, he probably had zero intention to diss him. Let's take him by his words, cause he always denied it. That being said, pretty much everyone at the time thought that it was about Tupac. I mean, who else in the rap game got shot around that time? Why drop a single called Who Shot Ya when your homie gets shot and thinks that you might have known something about it? You wouldn't do that to a friend. It's distasteful. People connected the dots and said that him releasing the song exactly a week after Pac went to prison couldn't have been a coincidence. You would expect your friend to proceed with caution after you accused him of knowing something about the setup, cause Pac was already claiming that Puffy and Andre Harrell knew about it, as they were there with Jimmy Henchman when Pac came up the elevator covered in blood. With Jimmy using Stretch to send him messages, he had confirmation that it was indeed him who gave the green light for the shooting. Why would Biggie and Puffy continue to do business with Jimmy after the shooting and those threats? This is where Pac slowly started to become paranoid and started to overanalyze every line from rappers from New York, thinking that it might be a subliminal line against him. He really started thinking that it was him against the world, with every rapper from New York trying to say something slick about him in their lyrics. And it all started with Who Shot Ya? Pac interpreted some of the lines on there as references to the Quad Studio shooting.
Who shot ya? Separate the wheat from the ops. Leap hard to creep them Brooklyn streets.
The opening lines already hit a nerve, with Pac thinking that Biggie is directly talking to him, asking who shot ya, knowing that his best friend Big Stretch, who was there that night sitting on the ground during the robbery, has witnessed the whole incident and told Biggie that Tupac shot himself and that no other bullets were fired. Biggie was convinced that Pac made up the whole story about getting shot 5 times to make it more dramatic, and Pac thought that Biggie asking who shot ya was sarcastic, an attempt to belittle him, calling him weak and obsolete. Weak because he couldn't defend himself with a gun in his hand, and obsolete because Biggie is now taking his spot in the rap game, with Pac going to prison for 1.5 to 4.5 years. Again, these lines are not about Tupac. The entire first verse was written in summer '94. But Pac interpreted these lines differently and thought it was a diss. Like him saying hard to creep them Brooklyn streets. The robbers came from Brooklyn, and they all looked like Biggie's homies.
It's on again. I'm gonna let bickering beef. I can hear sweat trickling down your cheek.
So Biggie is telling the guy who got shot that the beef is on. Hearing your friends say this after going through a traumatizing experience like this must have been soul-crushing for him. With rumors of Puffy and Biggie's involvement in the shooting floating around, on top of Pac accusing people of setting him up, and Biggie saying it's on, F all that bickering beef, Pac saw it as confirmation that Biggie really has a problem with him and wants to beef with him. He started to connect the dots with the possibility of Biggie's homie Lil C's quote-unquote luring him into a trap by telling him to come around the corner to the place where the robbers were waiting for him, assuming that Lil C's and thus Biggie might have been involved in this, or at least might have known about this. It wouldn't make sense for Biggie to be so insensitive and drop a song like this the week Pac went to prison if he really wasn't involved. That's what Pac thought.
Then the shot stopped when I fall the plot. Neighbors call the cops that they heard mad shots.
This line is often mistaken as a reference to the Quad Studio shooting, where the neighbors called the cops after hearing the shots. Biggie was in the lobby getting interviewed by the police when they carried Pac out the building. But the lines that people use to back up the theory that the song was indeed aimed at Pac are the following.
Old school, new school, need to learn though.
Ain't nothing like the old school. I wouldn't be here today if the old school just it ain't nothing like the
Old school, new school, need to learn though.
Tupac had a song called Old School on the album Me Against the World, which was just about to drop. He played it for Biggie when the two hung out together, so people thought that Biggie is referencing that song. But again, that verse was recorded 3 months before the Quad Studio shooting, with LL Cool J sitting in the studio writing lyrics. And the target for that line wasn't Pac but L, cause Biggie for whatever reason didn't like him, and actually dissed LL on the song, when he said,
Old school, new school, need to learn though.
L and Biggie were competing for the crown back then. Not only did they go toe-to-toe on the Flavor in Your Ear remix, but they both wanted the King of New York title for themselves, with L representing the older generation and Big the new one. That's why he said old school, new school need to learn though. Biggie would later record a song called Going Back to Cali, similar to LL's song, which has the same title. Part of the reason why he did it was because he wanted to show L that his song is better, while L's song sounds dated, indirectly telling him that he's old and obsolete. Just like he said in the beginning of Who Shot Ya, Biggie wanted to take his spot. LL Cool J is not only considered the leader of the first new school era in hip-hop, but at this point in his career, with him being a veteran MC that has been in the game for over 10 years, people started to put him in the old school category. And Biggie wanted to show LL that he's obsolete, that he's a thing of the past now, that he should just sit back and learn from him, as big as the rightful owner of the crown, the King of New York title. So they were competing. Both L and Big prepared verses for the Hushatya beats, but Big was faster. L was still sitting in the studio writing when he heard Biggie dissing him. Everyone in the studio knew that it was about L, who then later recorded a response record called I Shot Ya, which Pac also took offense to when it came out on October 31st, 1995. So in 95 we got two game-changing records about shooting someone, with everyone thinking that both songs were aimed at Pac. Both Who Shot Ya and I Shot Ya. All because of Biggie and Puffy.
Who shot ya?
They unintentionally caused the beef between Pac and L, and also the feature guests on the song, cause the remix to I Shot Ya was a posse track with some of the illest rappers from New York at the time, and Pac thought that everyone from New York was out to get him. First Biggie, then L, and then a whole entourage of rappers. Pac later confronted one of the feature guests of I Shot Ya, called Keith Murray, who, like I said earlier, was not only on the original and remix version of LL's I Shot Ya, but also on the first version of Biggie's Who Shot Ya. There was also friction with the other feature guests, Fat Joe, Prodigy from Mobb Deep, and Foxy Brown. Pac was under the impression that all these rappers were trying to beef with him, cause around that same time, Fat Joe had made some comments about him on the radio, saying that he's ready to beef with him if Pac makes a step in his direction, cause Pac was wilding out in interviews and blaming all the major A&Rs, label managers, rappers and DJs in New York of knowing who set him up. Fat Joe felt some type of way about it and warned him on the radio. Pac was then approached and threatened by all the Puerto Ricans in prison. They put him on a phone with Joe and they talked it out. Fat Joe's people then had Pac's back, cause Pac actually had love and respect for Joe prior to the shooting. They made peace before I Shot Ya dropped, and once I Shot Ya came out, Pac started to see him as his enemy. Fat Joe would also stay loyal to Biggie, and they would later even record diss records against Pac. Pac also got into a beef with Prodigy from Mobb Deep after being released from prison. And Foxy Brown would not only become a member of the rival rap group The Firm with AZ and Nas, with whom Pac would beef with in '96, but she was also present the day Tupac got shot in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996. She was in the black Benz with a man named Eric Von Zip, who gave the Crip Keefy D the gun which they used to shoot Tupac. I covered this in my Tupac murder documentary. Make sure to check it out. So yeah, Who Shot Ya caused a lot of problems for Pac. All of a sudden, he was beefing with all the major rappers from the East Coast. Them being on the song I Shot Ya contributed to Tupac having an issue with New York, cause he felt like they were all making fun of him for getting robbed and shot after coming to New York, while using his moment of pain to get some clout, rapping I Shot Ya when the whole world is wondering who shot Tupac. Anyway, in my video for the Big and Nas beef, I also explained how the second verse on Who Shot Ya was dedicated to Jay. Make sure to check it out for more info. So yeah, the main targets of the song were LL Cool J and Jay-Z, not Tupac. It was also a warning to his adversaries to not mess with him, cause he's not actually dropping names. This could technically be about anyone, but a lot of the lines were interpreted as jabs at Tupac, like when he said,
I make your skin chafe, rashes on the masses, bumps and bruises, blunts and Land Cruisers.
Pac got pistol whipped and bruised up, which left him bleeding. He had chafed skin on the side of his head, and Biggie is saying that the victim he's about to shoot will get his skin shaved. But these lines couldn't have been about the Quad Studio shooting since they're from the first verse, which again was written before Pac got shot. But people still thought that he's talking about Pac, and he of course re-recorded the verse after the shooting, knowing that Pac went through the exact same things he's rapping about. But things got more interesting in the second verse, which was written after the shooting. These are the lines that you could argue were meant for Pac, even though Big didn't really have a reason to diss him, aside from the fact that he got robbed by Haitian Jack's people because of Tupac supposedly running his mouth. Some people think that that was Biggie's motivation for dissing him, cause he spit lines like,
I switches all that, enemies G's up, one force move, get Swiss cheesed up.
When Pac reached for his gun, 2 of the 3 robbers supposedly shot him. He made a false move when they were frisking him. When Pac reached for his gun and turned around, the robbers quickly reacted and Pac got riddled with bullets. That's the meaning of getting Swiss cheesed up. Getting holes from all directions.
I feel for you, like Shaka Khan, I'm the Don. Sex when I want it, Rolex on the arm.
Rolex on the arm. The robbers took all of Pac's jewelry, except for the Rolex Haitian Jack bought him. They left the Rolex watch on Pac's arm to send him a message and to make him understand that they only roughed him up because he messed with Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman. Pac was also the one who bought Biggie his first Rolex. So yeah, a lot of weird coincidences. There are too many lines on here that sound like jabs at Pac. Like when he said,
recognize my face, so there won't be no mistake, so you know where to tell Jake lame one.
Jake is a slang term for cops, the police. Tupac was calling the cops shortly before going upstairs, and he later told Puffy, Andre Harrell and everyone in the building to go get the cops, pacing around the room saying, "Call the cops." It was a setup. Puffy and everyone else were surprised to hear Tupac, the cop shooter, ask for the cops, since he always had this image of him being basically the enemy of the police and the government, never wanting to cooperate with them, especially after shooting 2 off-duty police officers, witnessing police brutality firsthand, and after getting arrested numerous times. And him saying, "Recognize my face so there won't be no mistake," almost sounds like a response to Pac blindly accusing everybody of setting him up, even though he didn't know for sure who was involved. And yeah, he also wanted those same people to call the cops.
Lame one, brave one, turn front page one.
These lines were also interpreted as a reference to Pac making front page after getting shot 5 times at the Quad Studios. Everybody called him brave and bold for reaching for his gun when he was being held at gunpoint. All they wanted was his jewelry. They didn't even want to shoot him. While Pac's homies dropped to the floor, he was brave and stood his ground. Tried to fight back even though he was outnumbered and being held at gunpoint. So even the part where Biggie calls his victim brave fits Pac's situation at the Quad Studios perfectly. Almost every line in the second verse can somehow be linked to the shooting. The title "Who Shot Ya" combined with him saying the victim turned front page after getting shot left no doubt in Pac's mind that Biggie was talking slick about him. And Pac wasn't the only one feeling that way. In '95, Biggie would start performing the song live, like in Chicago for example, and the crowd oftentimes would get upset, thinking that he's dissing Pac. So Biggie didn't really perform it as much as some of his other hits.
This industry, I turn your best friends into your worst enemies. Pac warned me, but I didn't believe him.
So yeah, this is one of those songs that people consider a diss track even though it's supposedly not. The Bad Boy camp has always denied it. But with Pac becoming paranoid and overanalyzing every lyric, he took offense to all the lines I highlighted. And he also agreed with the media and fans that the song is about him. In prison, people who didn't like him would bump the song so loud that Pac would hear it. And he was constantly reminded of the shooting. Strangers would approach and ask him if he heard the rumors of Biggie having something to do with it. Some claimed that Biggie admitted to it right in front of them, with Big and Puff laughing at him, saying that they finally got rid of him.
While I'm in jail, strangers is telling me, "Yo, you don't know? Biggie homeboy shot you." Because they bragging, they telling they niggas in jail, "Yo, we just got Pac, woo, woo, woo." And my cousin was in jail in New York because I got family out there. He sit right there while the niggas get the call, boy, "Yo, my homeboys just jacked that Tupac." So that's how I knew who shot me, what happened, and everything.
Be to yourself. Stay to yourself. Trust nobody. Trust nobody.